terrorist group Boko Haram attacked and beheaded more than 60 farmers in Zabamari, Jere local government area of Borno State about 3 weeks ago, a lot has happened to give a whole new coloration to political discussion across the northern parts of Nigeria. Those discussions came close to becoming a shouting match, especially after President Muhammadu Buhari went back on his earlier promise to go to the House of Representatives to answer lawmakers' questions regarding the worsening state of insecurity across the north and other parts of Nigeria. A socio-political group, the Northern Elders Forum, actually issued a statement calling on the president to resign on the premise that he could no longer protect or guarantee the safety of the common man in the streets of the region. Joining us now to look at all of this is Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, the spokesman of the Northern Elders Forum. Welcome to the program, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Well, Dr. Baba Ahmed, great pleasure to have you again on the program so soon after our last conversation with you. You were hoping that what happened in Kankara in Katsina State will end up as fake news. We just spoke to the director of media operations of the Nigerian Army, and we've been following the news. Apparently, it is not fake news. So are you surprised that it is not fake news? And are you satisfied with the steps being taken so far by the federal government and the state government to bring back our boys?
You must have had access to my Twitter account where I said, please, God, let the news about the abductions be fake news. It was the first time I ever hoped that a story like this would be fake, because it's just numbing in terms of its significance. We said a few weeks ago, we felt that the president had run out of steam, run out of ideas, and apparently had lost control over our security. This is a very, very weighty statement to make, but we made it after very careful analysis and inquiries about the state of the president, his decision-making processes, the quality of the advice he gets, the people around him, the people he trusts, the people who undertake responsibilities on his behalf. And our conclusion in the end is that we didn't see that there was likely to be a dramatic change in the manner the president would defend and protect Nigerians. And we never foresaw that we would see the kind of terrible tragedy that we are living through in the last, we've been living through in the last 4 days. Hundreds of school children abducted by maybe 100, maybe 150 criminals, riding into a town on motorcycles, going to a school, breaching the school, shepherding hundreds of children out. No intelligence, no challenge, nothing, and then succeeding in taking them out. I mean, how do you explain this? How do you explain to the parents, the community, Nigerians, that we have a security in place? How do you explain the fact that 4 days or 5 days after these children have been taken away, all we have is just silence now? The first day they said, oh, we'll get them back. The second day they said, oh, we know where they are. The third day they said, we're trying. By the third day, the governor said, we are negotiating with them. Yesterday, somebody called and said he was Shekau and he had the children. This is exactly the repeat of the Chibok girls. The same thing that substantially assisted President Buhari to come to power. And here we are, completely at the mercy of criminals, not just the Ankara incident, apart from the Zabamari incident. Every single day, kidnapping is becoming more and more lucrative. More and more people are being kidnapped. And I spoke with General Aneche, the spokesman, just now when he was leaving and I was coming into your studio. And I said to him, I know that they are doing a good job. We have to support our military. It's tough when you're having to fight how many threats as a military. We haven't seen President Buhari increase their numbers, increase their capacities, increase their capabilities. It's the same military he inherited from Jonathan. And he hasn't done anything to fix them. They are being led by the same people, achieving the same known results. So what else is there to say? I mean, what happened in Kankara is absolutely revealing. Here you have a president living in the same state where these children were abducted. Literally, you could say right under his nose. He didn't go to Katsina to take charge of what is going to happen. He didn't go to Kankara, which is to the south of the state, to condole with the community. He stayed in Daura. The governors were going there to brief him. Everybody was there to brief him. I mean, where is the empathy? Where is the president's compassion? Where is his sense of concern? How does he show the people that he really is genuinely worried? So you are exposed and you are being led by a person who really doesn't show any semblance of concern or even assuming responsibility for what happened. Nigerians appear to be entirely on our own. We're on a free fall. So what else can you say about this other than just to pray that these children are rescued by anybody and they find their way home? That's all there is.
Well, sir, it must be quite challenging to show that you care if, in fact, you do not. But I wanted to ask you where exactly we are as a nation. You've gone some way to answering it, but I'll put it in a different context. The Senate, who initially disowned the House of Representatives when the House of Representatives invited the president to address them about security issues, have now also bemoaned the president's persistent disregard for Senate resolutions with regards to security. And obviously the House of Representatives, we were all quite shocked when the president just casually reneged on his agreement to honor their invitation. What needs to be done now? Because we cannot continue to just assume the position of sitting ducks, all 200 million of us.
Well, if we're looking to the National Assembly to rise up to the occasion and demand a lot more than the pleasure of the president to say yes or no to them, we will have to wait for much longer. I'm afraid my faith in the legislature is not as high as many other Nigerians. Look, the very day the Speaker of the House of Representatives came back from the villa, actually was interviewed in the villa, and he said, I had met the president. He says he will come and answer our request for him to appear before us and explain what is going on. But it will be at a date convenient to him. Something inside me said, he's not coming. Because if the House of Reps goes to the Speaker himself, goes to the President and says, Mr. President, we've just had a resolution passed inviting you to the House, and the President says, okay, I will come. He would come back and say he would come also so time. But the moment he said it would be at the pleasure of the President, that on the basis of the very little that I know, I suspected he wasn't going to come. And he played true to type. He says they have no powers to summon him. It's not an issue of powers or not. It's about accountability and responsibility to speak to Nigerians. And the National Assembly is our representative. That's the reason why these guys are in Abuja. We sent them here so that they can keep an eye on what the executive does. If they have submitted for so long to the president that he believes that they are dispensable. So if Nigerians are dispensable, what about our representatives who have constitutional powers to check what he does? Now, I read today that they are summoning the service chiefs, the other officials that the president has entrusted. What can these people tell them that is going to replace what the president would tell them? The president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. You began by asking me where we are today. We are in a place we have never been. We are desperately at the lowest ebb, where our leadership doesn't seem to care. Those with responsibility to check him or challenge him do not appear willing to do so. We are running from pillar to post, defenseless, vulnerable, exposed. This was precisely the reason why we said, in the interest of the country, in his own interest, President Buhari should do the honorable thing and resign. People say, what do you mean? How can the president resign? Well, why can't the president resign? He was voted into power. We voted him into power. If he can't protect us, why can't we say, please, sir, resign? Because you can't really do that. And at that time, we didn't know that there was going to be Kankara when we said this. We didn't know there were going to be other atrocities in the country. Now, what else is there to say anymore? I don't think that the National Assembly has reached a point where they are willing to now genuinely assert their responsibilities and say to the president, we are very sorry, sir, we are no more going to be a poodle. We have a job to do. It's fairly independent from yours. Our job is to say to you that we want to know certain things, and you must submit to us. And if he doesn't do it because of the law, he should do it because Nigerians have a right to demand explanations over what is going on in our lives. What is going on in our lives is that we're running scared. We don't have protection, we are not safe, we are not secure, and we don't have anybody to give us answers.
Right. So two things I'd just like to talk to you about. Number one will be, there was a coalition in the north to, lend their voice in form of a protest about this Kankara incident. And all of a sudden, while they were having their meetings, hoodlums, that's been a big normative word in Nigeria now, hoodlums all of a sudden came from them. We don't know who sent them, we don't know where they're from, but hoodlums came and scuttled that meeting. Somebody will have thought that, meetings like that should be able to drive a protest as regards what's happening so that people can hear their voice, get their voices heard as enshrined in our Constitution. But we keep having this recurring decimal of hoodlums. What's your take on all of that?
Well, I hope you know that the Northern Elders Forum released a statement immediately, which was widely circulated, condemning the attack on the meeting and reminding whoever sent those people that they can't stop Nigerians from organizing and looking for answers to how they can be better secured. We will encourage Nigerians to continue to meet, to express anger, to express through legal means, to express their disappointment that we have a leadership which is not leading. We have people who have responsibility who are not protecting us. Regarding the word hoodlum, how else do you explain 100, 150 people just walking into a meeting which is legal, which is legitimate, and just simply beating everybody up? They don't have an identity. I'm not going to suggest that anybody sent them because I don't have the evidence to do that. But this is a meeting that was looking at the security situation. So there must be people out there who don't want Nigerians to talk about the insecurity going on in the country. Clearly, because those riffraffs or whatever you call them, they couldn't just have assembled themselves and said, let's go into Arewa House. Arewa House is the residence of the late Sadona of Sokoto. It's a center for historical research and documentation. It's in the heart of Kaduna. It's protected. It is secure. It hires places for meetings. Hundreds of meetings take place there in a month. And yet you have 100, 150, some people say 300 young people bursting in there with weapons in their hand and just breaking everything up. So clearly there are people that want us both to be unsafe and to be quiet. They don't want us to talk about insecurity. They don't want us to organize. They don't want us to raise our voices. They want us to die quietly. And we will not die quietly. And that's why we released that statement. We said we condemn this and we encourage the same group to continue to explore other ways of expressing their anger. We will not just give up. If Nigerians are dying, we would rather die saying we have a right to live than just simply submit to criminals and to a government that just doesn't care enough to protect us. This will not do. That coalition, I hope they are re-strategizing. I hope other Nigerians are watching because we need people to raise their voices. This is the time, more than any other time, for unity behind the demand that we should be protected, for action, real action, legal, I have to emphasize. Whatever we do, we must be legal. But this is the time for people to raise their voices, and particularly for young people. This is your future. You cannot live the next 5 to 10 years the same way we're living, like animals. Imagine right now, 333 or 400 or 500 of our children, because they are our children, are now living with bandits or terrorists. And there doesn't appear to be anything anybody is doing about it. Now, project this for the next 2 years. Living for another 2 years under the administration of President Buhari, another 2 years. What is Nigeria going to look like? So people need to raise their voices. We must never give up. We must not resign ourselves to live under crime and a government that just doesn't care about us. For me, that's my take.
Well, Dr. Baba Ahmed, I would like your take on another subject. and I'll go back to your Twitter account. 17 hours ago, you started a survey on national security, and you asked the question, do you think that Buhari can secure Nigeria, something like that, whether he can improve the security of Nigerians. What are your expectations? How is the vote going? And whichever way the vote turns out, what do you intend to do with the outcome? But then your own question that you have posed to your followers, I would also like to take it back to you. Do you think that this president, one way or the other, before 2023, can deliver on the challenge of insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, the survey is going well. It's a simple question with three options. Do you think that President Buhari can improve the manner he secures Nigerians? It's either yes or no, or I don't know. When I checked in the last 1 hour, 75% of Nigerians who responded said no. I think about 13% said yes, and about 10% said I don't know. It's an honest question targeted at people out there. I don't know them. Just simply say so. And there's a reason why I posted that survey. People said we're too hard. It's never been done. Or maybe it has been done by President Buhari when he told President Jonathan to resign because he was incapable of securing Nigeria way back in 2013 before he became president. Now, but I felt people keep saying to us, but how can you, okay, you want him to resign, do you want the military to take over? Certainly we don't want the military to take over. The military have no business governing us. The military is supposed to fight. They're not doing a very good job at it. Whatever their reasons, that's their job, and they should focus on their job. We don't want a military takeover. We don't want, but what we want is a president who will do what he's supposed to do, that is to protect Nigerians. If he cannot protect Nigerians, then he should step down for whatever reason, whether it is medical or physical or whatever. But he cannot continue to be president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and commander-in-chief of the armed forces and consistently fail to protect us. So I asked a question, threw a question at Nigerians and to say, do you think the president can improve the security of Nigerians? And like I said, 75% so far said no, which means now that there's overwhelming agreement that President Buhari cannot protect Nigerians. Now, do we see any sign that is going to change anything? Go back to the last 3-4 days. President Buhari lands in Daura, in his hometown, in Katsina State. The same day in the night, criminals came in and stole hundreds of our children. He was there in Daura. He didn't fly to Ankara where the incident took place. He had a helicopter, or he could have called for a helicopter. He didn't go to Ankara. He didn't go to Katsina to take charge of whatever it is. He didn't summon the chief of army staff, chief of the IGP. He didn't call all these people to say, now, gentlemen, in the next 6 hours, I want these children retrieved. If you know the terrain, it's not that impossible. If a band of motorcycle riding people can ride all the way to Ankara and retrieve and steal hundreds of our children, it's not impossible to think that you can deploy military people, police people, intelligence people to retrieve these children within the first 6 hours of the abduction. It's not impossible. The terrain can be known. It's inconceivable that the entire might of the Nigerian state cannot be deployed to retrieve those children before they are dispersed and broken up. And now we're beginning to hear that Boko Haram is involved in this kidnapping. So and the president is still there in Daura. And look at the levels of sensitivity. A lot of people would have said to the president, please, sir, don't go to where the cows are. We know you are on holiday. We know you have cows. Please don't go there. And if he goes, make sure that there are no photo opportunities. Nobody takes a photograph of him looking at his cows. I mean, what kind of people are handling the president's affairs? This level of insensitivity is unbelievable. Who is advising him? Why doesn't somebody say to him, sir, please go to Katsina, go to Ankara. You can be secured. Where is the empathy? Where is a president who has feelings? Where is the president who cried in 2011 because he said, I've given up? Where are those tears? We are not, I'm not enjoying saying all this about President Buhari, but the truth about it is that some things need to be said. I love this country more than I love the president. And I wish he's working so that I can say, thank God, we have a president who is working. But he's not. And he has to be told. And the nation needs to know. We will not accept to continue to live this way. That's the bottom line.
Indeed, sir. We all want the president to succeed. So I have two questions for you quickly. First of all, the fact that Boko Haram has taken responsibility for this attack and the swift denial. What is behind this seeming reluctance to countenance the fact that Boko Haram has a foothold in the northwest of Nigeria and Boko Haram is no longer restricted to the northeast? Why is this glaring fact being constantly denied? Secondly, Governor Bello Masari 4 months ago said that the bandits, as he chooses to call them, are being sponsored by political enemies of the present APC government and those who want to contest for elections in 2023. What are your thoughts on that claim as well?
Regarding the first one, I don't know why anybody would even bother to say that Boko Haram doesn't operate in the northwest. I don't have evidence that they do. But look, if Boko Haram 9 years ago could go anywhere and bomb any part of this country, what stops them from infiltrating the most porous part of Africa, perhaps, the northwest today? There are huge ungoverned territories. Bandits operate in huge areas. They can ride their motorcycles, 300 motorcycles, three persons per motorcycle, and go 200 kilometers in Zamfara, in Katsina, in parts of Kaduna, in Niger State, and hold villages to ransom. This kind of situation is the perfect setting for Boko Haram to infiltrate. Now, I'm not saying Boko Haram is there. I'm not even saying that Boko Haram is holding these children. I don't have evidence for that. But look, the way we are going, no one should discountenance any security threat. We have the perfect setting for criminals to set in because the state has failed in so many things. We have no intelligence. We're yielding vast territories to terrorists, to criminals, to bandits, to kidnappers, vast territories, and therefore it means anything goes there. We're abandoning huge numbers of communities to criminals because we cannot protect them. These crimes that are going on are paying. They pay millions and millions and millions to the criminals. If you kidnap people, their relations don't even think about the police. They just go around and look for money to pay. So there's a huge amount of money behind these kind of types of crimes. So they attract more and more people. The more people who are involved in this, the more they expand the space for the criminality and the less the state, and the more they squeeze the state. So no one should discountenance any threat. Those who have responsibility for this, if they know that Boko Haram is not responsible for this, they should please tell us. Because it is something that Nigerians need to know. If they believe that the information should not be made to the public, then tell us who is holding our children. Tell us where these bandits are. Why is it impossible to trace the bandits in Borno, in Katsina? And let me remind you, these bandits 4 or 5 years ago were of the same stock, the same people that are now being harassed by the bandits. They were Hausa, they were Fulani people, they were criminals. They come from the same stock. They didn't just drop from the heavens. They were living in the same communities. The communities know where these bandits are. There is something fundamentally wrong in the way intelligence is being garnered or not being garnered in this country completely. Because it's not possible for these people to operate on the scale they do, with the level of impunity that they do, with the level of disregard for any fear, unless they know that the state is not going to fight back.
Right.
And it is the citizen that is being left. Now, regarding the claim about all these insurgencies have political motives, I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't put any credence to that kind of statement. He said it a few weeks ago. I just thought, okay, that is a politician's statement. We will not pay any attention to that. Because the insurgency had predated President Buhari. It got worse under him. And if you want to trace and link it to political undertones, then you have a responsibility to say it is this and this and this person who is responsible for linking that. You cannot just make this kind of statements and just walk away and say this is the work of enemies of the administration. It's not, and it's not acceptable. So that's why, to be honest, I don't think we should pay too much attention to that. Anyone who would say that banditry and kidnapping and insurgency is a tool of the opposition or people who are against the president has the responsibility to tell us who exactly is behind that. Otherwise, please shut up. Let us deal with the problems that we have.
Right. But in all of this, some will argue that you can't really blame Governor Masari and, Professor Babagana Zulum and all the governors in the north. Why? They're just chief security officers in name. Some will suggest we have a silver bullet for all of this. It's restructuring. Isn't it the time to do it? Isn't it the time for the ACF to talk about it? Because if you actually restructure, then we'll be able to get a police force from the states that has native intelligence, local intelligence, to go after any form of bandit. Like you said very clearly, these people live in communities, they live in society. But by the way, when you say it was the oppressed people that are now oppressing others, you just lay credence to what Frantz Fanon said, oppressed people only oppress others. Isn't it the time to have that conversation about restructuring? Isn't the North supposed to drum it louder this time and put it on the table?
And I'm sure you mean it is time to have that discussion. And I'm sure you mean the Northern Elders Forum.
Yes.
We have always insisted that we need to restructure, particularly restructure to address security issues, because that's the fundamental basis of our unity. So I would just say that we have supported restructuring, and we want to address restructuring, and we want to prioritize those areas that need to be restructured. And the most important right now is to address the issue of security and how restructuring can actually improve restructuring. Now, every governor, if he's going to tell you the truth, will tell you how frustrated and exasperating it is to be chief security officer in your state and you have no control over the military or the police. And when I say control, I don't even mean the power to direct them. Sometimes they don't even have to answer you. So we need to look at the security structure in the country. We need to look at the constitutional provisions that put all these powers in Abuja. This is the nightmare of our federal system, and this is why we need restructuring. With all the powers in a president, an executive president, with all the powers that you give the federal government, if you end up with a president like President Buhari, who is incompetent, uncaring, and insensitive, and then he has all these powers to use and he doesn't use them, you're in trouble. You give him the military, you give him the police, you give him all these resources, and he just doesn't govern. He likes the power, but he doesn't want to use the power to govern. Then you're in trouble. And if we haven't learned anything from the experience of living under President Buhari, we should learn that this is the time to look at whether it is good for a country like Nigeria to put so much power in the hands of one government. We have 37 governments and 774 local governments. To put this much level of power and resources in the hand of one individual, one center, we are not talking about structures, we are also talking about systems. Do you really need a presidential system that gives one individual this much power, and then you are never sure whether he's going to exercise that power responsibly? Do you want to put so much power and resources at a center and leave all the federating units simply at the mercy of the center? Is this the kind of federation you want, where you now have to beg a president to say, sir, I have a problem. Bandits are now taking almost half, insurgents are taking half of my state. I need the military, this military that is.
Hello? Hello, Dr. Baba Ahmed, are you still with us? Okay, we seem to have a problem with the connection there, but if you are still hearing me, Dr. Baba Ahmed, we want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on the morning show. Thank you very much indeed.